Oh, well, hello everybody. Jason of New Age Revolution Cave for the culmination of the week. It is Sunday, and it is the Power Hour, folks. The Power Hour is here upon us. Just trying to find the questions and get them loaded up here. Oh, hold on a second. Where do you guys got to be? All right. It's Power Hour, like I said, where you, the fan, the friend of the channel, gets to ask the hard-hitting questions or just toss me a softball question, like, what's your favorite food? And I'll answer them. And it's your chance to be a part of the show, to have your name up in lights. In front of millions, folks, millions. Happy Sunday. Before I get into the Power Hour, I wanna send you over to a channel. A new friend of mine is doing his thing on the YouTube. Just started it up a few months ago. 80s Movie Den. 80s Movie Den. Yeah, I think that's it, right? 80s Movie Den is my friend. And he's on the YouTube, and you got to go check him out. He's in Canada. He's a good fella. Isn't that what they say in Canada? Fella? I don't know. He's a good guy. He's like me. He likes all this stuff, all this wacky stuff. But his focus is less on the toys and more on the movies. And so, he picks up a lot of VHS tapes, a lot of DVDs, and just sits back and talks about them. I'll put a link to the channel down below, as always. 80s Movie Den is your next YouTube pleasure destination. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. Let's get started with the Power Hour. This is from a man, Jonathan, and I read through this. This one gets kind of deep. He says, topic number 1. So my mom kind of threw out my... I'm going to read this whole thing. So sit down and relax, right? It's the Power Hour. This is your longer show. So my mom kind of threw out my stuffed animal collection that I've had since I was little. They were in the basement in 3 big bags, not bothering anyone. Mom. They'd been there for years, and for whatever reason, she decided to get rid of them without telling me, of course. I'm not happy about it. I can't stop thinking about it. I wish I had them so I could set them out and display them and just be with them. If that makes sense. It makes sense. How do I get through this? Has your parents ever thrown out something of yours that you wish you still had? How did you deal with it? I should also say that I still have 15% of my stuffed animal collection that I had kept on my own to display, but the other 85% was in those 3 big bags. Stuffed animals that my grandparents had given me that were priceless. Stuffed animals that I got at zoos, at theme parks since I was little, that I can never get back. And I just wish I had them. Luckily, I still have my wrestling figures and action figure collection. Those were never thrown out. But again, I was wondering if you still have all of your original stuffed animals from when you were little. And how did you deal with the loss of them knowing your parents got rid of them? Or how would you deal with the loss? Well, how do you deal with it? So he's asking how to deal with the loss. So this is a big thing. That's a lot to pick apart. I think we have a loss here that obviously we can't get back, right? So let me get to the first part, and then we'll address the more emotional issue. I don't know for sure if my parents ever threw stuff. I assume they did, because I have nothing of my childhood, nothing, except 2 LJN figures. The rat chewed British bulldogs. Other than that, I have 0 of my toys from when I was a kid. I believe I believe that not my original, but maybe my second LJN ring base, I've carried around with me, and it's up in the rafters in the garage. It's just a base. There's no posts. There's no nothing. I think that's a one of my childhood rings, and that's it, folks. That's all I got. And you know, so yeah, I assume my mom more likely threw stuff out. I don't have proof of that, and I never really had to deal with it because I never knew that it happened. You know specifically that your mother threw out, you say 85% of your stuffed animals. And I can relate to the love for stuffed animals. My boy, one of my boys, my big boy, my 11-year-old boy, is very much in love with his stuffies, with his stuffed animals. We had to take them off of his bed and put them in a net, one of those nets that you hang in the corner of his room, because there was no room in his bed. And making the bed was ridiculous. You had to take out all the stuffies, put him on the floor, and then, you know, like a dog, he would kind of get in there and nest and run around, go around in circles a few times and then settle, and eventually have the animals where he wanted them. And it's great because he's still, you know, when we go to the zoo, as you mentioned in your email, he wants to go into the gift shop and get a stuffed animal. He gets a World Wildlife Foundation adopted animal every year for Christmas, he and his brother. And you know, there's always a stuffed animal. So I love that he still loves them. And they're special to him. And instead of throwing some out or donating some, we put them in a big net. And so they just hang in his room. You asked, how do you get over this? Well, I don't. So when I'm in my office with people, I don't talk about getting over things. I think we're asking too much of ourselves to get over something, especially something of value. A lot of times, you know, get over a lost relationship, get over the death of somebody that you loved. You know, you hear that a lot. You know, get over it. I think move on just seems harsh. You know, come on, move on. I think that, so I don't use that language either. I like to talk about, you know, coexisting without the stuff that you lost. You know, the loss of the stuffed animals is kind of like a death, right? It's kind of like a death. Now, don't read too much into that. It's not literally, but I think it can be the same void. You know, they're not here anymore. They're gone. And so you know, you're going to have to come to terms with the loss. And what I mean by that is you've got to figure out a way to coexist without your precious items. Coexisting means living, continuing to live despite the loss. And living means living, right? Laughing and being productive and enjoying your family and enjoying your friends and doing whatever you do. You have to continue doing that. You might feel better confronting your mom on this and finding out what she was thinking. That might just make you more angry because you might not like her response. Depending on how she is, her response might be, well, it was just junk, right? It's junk, and that just dismisses your feelings, minimizes the importance of your loss to you. So that kind of reaction might hurt your relationship with her. It's not going to bring your stuffed animals back, but it might be nice for her to apologize and you know, tell you that she feels bad about it. But again, that's for you. You know, that's for you to get some things off your chest. It's a tough loss, man. It's a big deal. I feel for you. Maybe you can, you know, of course, you're never going to get back, you know, the original. But maybe you could start again. Maybe you can, you know, I don't know what your family setup is like. I don't know if you have kids of your own, or if you don't, you know, maybe you could really buy back some of the stuffed animals that you lost. Maybe you could find replicas. If you remember some specific replicas of the stuffed animals that you lost, you could find them on eBay and things like that. Will it be exactly the same? Well, of course not. But I've made a whole hobby, a whole passion out of re-releases of stuff, right? It's not my stuff. It's not my original stuff. It's a re-release of my stuff. All those LJNs over there are re-releases of my original stuff. And over time, they become, you know, just as important as the originals. All right, let's see what else we got here from my friend Jonathan. He says, yeah, I know, my dog is trying to get in. He says, the second question, he says, what are your thoughts on dating apps and the modern dating scene in general? Dating apps such as Tinder and Bumble have led to a hookup culture that has drastically affected the dating world as we know it, compared to how things used to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, so on. Are you a fan of dating apps? Do you think it potentially has ruined the wholesome family unit that used to exist? Guys jumping from girl to girl, girls jumping from guy to guy, all because we have the option now with our dating apps. Just your thoughts in general on the topic would be nice to hear. Well, I mean, I don't think that dating apps alone ruined the wholesome family unit. I think wholesome family units probably started getting ruined a lot. Boy, this dog is really trying to get in. I think wholesome family unit started getting ruined a lot sooner than dating apps ever existed. I don't know if they're. I think that dating apps are probably hurting family units when the people on dating apps are married and they are finding, you know, their secret girlfriend or boyfriend on a dating app. I think that's not good. Yeah, there certainly is a hookup culture. Sure, there is. You know, and we're not going to blame the 20-somethings on a hookup culture, because it has expanded, folks. Just as we are younger acting, younger appearing. Look, I'm not bragging at all. I don't look 48. I'll be 48 in 6 months. All right, which means in 2 years I'll be 50. See how I did that? 48, 50 minus 48 is 2. 2 years I'll be 50. My guess is that I'm probably going to look like this when I'm 50. It's only 2 years. I don't look 50, folks, and I'm not bragging, you know, but I don't look like a 50-year-old from 1960. I don't look like 50-year-olds from 1970. I do not look like 50-year-olds from 1980, and I don't look like 50-year-olds from the 90s. We are, you know, whether it's a healthier lifestyle, more protection from the sun, maybe less of us are smoking cigarettes, we're not working in coal mines. I mean, I don't know why our generation has stayed youthful looking. Now, what am I getting to? What is my point? My point is that, you know, 20-somethings are not just responsible for the hookup culture. 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and 60-year-olds are still taking part in the hookup culture because we are acting and looking and feeling younger than ever. And so settling down, You were supposed to settle down in your 30s. Back decades ago. You settle down in your 30s. People aren't settling down in their 30s. They're not settling down in their 40s or 50s, folks. I have access to a lot of people through my career. I hear these things. I hear 65 to 70-year-olds having problems with boyfriends and girlfriends because of, cheating or playing the field, or get this, not wanting to commit. At 70, they're not sure they want a commitment. They don't want to label it at 68 years old. I don't want to put a label on it. You're going to put a label on your gravestone, idiot. So, yeah, dating, dating apps. Look, I don't know, but because before dating apps, we had personal ads in newspapers of people looking for love. We've had speed dating concepts. We've had, in the 80s, we had the video dating, right? You get your video, remember the video dating crap? So I think I can't fault people for wanting to find somebody. But yeah, I think monogamy is kind of hard to come by these days. There's a lot of poly this or poly that, polyamory or where people just love everyone and, they have multiple different relationships with multiple different partners and, genders, again, I'm not faulting that either. I mean, do what you want to do, but I think the traditional Leave It to Beaver family, was it really ever a Leave It to Beaver family? Or was that just on Leave It to Beaver? My parents got divorced in 1985, so, when was it ever really a solid family unit? And then finally, my friend Jonathan says, boy, I hate, because I can't print them out because, I don't want to cut your stuff off. So I take a picture on my kid's phone and bring the questions downstairs. His final topic is, out of all the bugs and animals on this planet, which ones are you afraid of the most and why? Well, you hit me with two serious ones and then that. I don't like insects at all. I'm afraid of collections of insects. One ant walking by is nothing. I can beat it up. I'm pretty tough. I can fight that one ant and win. But I will run fast in the opposite direction if there's a horde of ants just all crawling all over each other. Like if you drop a lollipop on the sidewalk and there's all these ants crawling all that. That's awful. Bees, I will literally, jump off a roof to get rid of bees or to get away from bees. Rodents disgust me. Just mice and rats are just unbelievable. That's probably it. I just don't, no insects. Spiders don't really freak me out. Like everybody runs from a spider. I'm not worried about spiders. I'm worried about, oh, and cats. Good God, how could I forget cats? Cats are terrifying. They just are. I can't deal with the cats. All right, next up is my man Retro Overload. He closes his questions with, "Thank you, I love your YouTube channel." Retro Overload. So yeah, we're gonna highlight that first. Somebody loves my channel. We're always gonna highlight that first. I wonder if my dog gave up trying to get in. You out there? No, she went. The dog weighs 30 pounds. The door weighs, nothing. It's on hinges. You would think that a dog would just kind of nudge the door open, but she doesn't get it. Retro Overload says, "I have briefly heard you talk about TV shows from the 90s. Do you have favorite TV shows from the 90s? Yeah, sure. I'm sure I do. What did I watch in the 90s? I probably watched stuff that like trickled into the 90s. You know, like I think Growing Pains went into the 90s. I think what else? What else did I? Oh, like the TGIF lineup I watched. You know, Urkel and Full House and Step by Step and shows like that. Cops. I watched Cops all the time with my dad. Was Unsolved Mysteries in the 90s? I don't know, because in the 90s, like I'd come home from school and I'd watch TBS and that had the Brady Bunch and Leave It to Beaver on. So like I was even watching old stuff back then. But I think, you know, the Friday night, the Friday lineup, you know, Seinfeld, obviously. Friends, I think I watched a little bit of Friends in the 90s. Yeah. Nothing like the 80s. Just wondering, do you have any nostalgic memories of smells or scents from school, such as the smell of erasers, scratch and sniff stickers, the smell of a freshly sharpened pencils, and so on? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I'd have to, you know, I think my elementary school just had a smell in general. It just, you know, just the inside of the building had a smell. Backpacks, you know, the inside of backpacks have a smell. That's always a memory producer. Crayons, you know, crayons have a smell that gets you. Even like construction paper, you know, like, you know, paper has a smell. Yeah, the school itself, though, I think the school bus had a smell, you know, and I don't mean negative. I mean, you know what I mean. You get it. We all get the it's called olfactory memories of smell. Yeah, you know, the inside of a lunchbox. I mean, it all comes back. Do you have any memories of any video rental stores other than Blockbuster, the mom and pop style video? Sure, yeah. I mean, Blockbuster was just, you know, 90s with my dad. But we did have a mom and pop video store in one of the neighborhoods I lived in. I don't know. And I don't know what their deal was, but I was only like 14 and they gave me a membership. And that's where I rented WrestleMania 1 and any other wrestling video I could get my hands on. But A Christmas Story, I would always rent. You know, I never really, because I was walking up to this store. I was actually walking up to the video rental store with a couple of bucks. And I remember never renting really anything else but wrestling and A Christmas Story. Those are the only movies I'd rent. And I remember on the counter, they didn't have like they might have had an adult section. I don't know. But on the counter, they had like this giant binder that was adult. And you know, if you thumbed through it, you would see like all the cover, like all the crushed down VHS cases of all the movies. I don't know why that was. Maybe they didn't have a back room for the adult. And so you just, you know, based on the cover, you'd pick which one you wanted. You know, flipping through the binder, standing there with the, you know, with the guy just, you know, the employee just looking at you, you know, flipping through the binder. And I you know, I'd always sneak a peek at 14, you know. We had a video store in town in Hilton, in my little town here. A video store in the 80s and 90s that I rented the Wrestling Classic from, the WWF Wrestling Classic, probably at about 20 years old.
Never returned it. Never returned it, and rented it knowing that I wasn't going to return it. What a jerk, right? Rented it knowing that I wasn't going to return it. And then about a year and a half later, I got a letter from them saying that I owed them $300. $300 I owed them. Needless to say, I didn't pay it. And that, that video store is now a pharmacy. And when they moved to locations. So the first location that they were in, where I actually rented the Wrestling Classic from, is now a pharmacy. And then their second location, where I got the letter from saying I owed them $300 and counting, apparently, is now a funeral memorial, store or whatever, a headstone store. Which what is that? You can buy urns and headstones there. Fitting, I guess, the death of the. So the business went under with me still owing $300 to them. Where are we at? 26. All right, one more from my friend here. Did you have Garbage Pail stickers growing up? If so, did you stick them everywhere? Yeah, of course I did. I had Garbage Pail Kids and I had Garbage Pail stickers, but I also had wrestling figures. Wrestling cards and the wrestling stickers, the tops, the WWF cards, and they came with stickers too. Much to my father's dismay. All right, my dad really never realized that I was a kid. Even at 8, 9 years old, he never really realized that I was a kid and would do dumb kid stuff. So I would put my stickers, my Garbage Pail Kid stickers, my wrestling card stickers, whatever stickers, my Michael Jackson trading cards, puffy stickers, whatever, scratch and sniffs. I'd put them all over my dresser and all over my headboard of my bed. And my dad lost his mind about that because I was ruining apparently this hand-carved, oak bed set that cost them so much money and, would only go up in value. And here the 9-year-old is just destroying it with his stickers because you can't get the stickers off, the residue. I mean, think about that today. Can we get stickers off of stuff? Sure we can. But because I was putting stickers on it, he was infuriated that I was destroying this beautiful, Amish, handmade, not even use hammer and nail, just, brute strength, pushing a nail into this one-of-a-kind bedroom set, apparently, that, I bought from, whatever, some discount furniture store when I was a kid. So I would put them all over my bedding, my dresser and my headboard, and then would pay the wrath at another time. All right, my friend, let's see where we're at here. You have, well, we can get him in. You say, did you watch the Disney afternoon animated lineup, DuckTales, Chippendales, Tailspin? The only one I really remember watching regularly of that lineup, and I know the lineup, I mean, it's Fox Kids, it's after school, it's 4 o'clock. DuckTales was probably the one that I watched the most. I'm sure, Rescue Rangers got fair play. I'm sure Tailspin got fair play. I own all 3 of those series on DVD now, but DuckTales is the one that I remember watching the most. This one I chuckled at this one. I really did. Did you listen to 80s music as a kid? Now, I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. Did I listen to 80s music as a kid in the 80s? The short answer is yes. We all listened to 80s music in the 80s. Retro overload. Did you have an arcade in the area you lived as a kid? If so, do you have any memories of going to the arcade? Sure. Oh, my foot fell asleep. That's awful. And really asleep. Like I'm not going to be able to walk Wow. We had, no, not an arcade that you see like, you know, in movies. We had a convenience store that had a couple of arcade games in it. I can't remember which game. But, you know, if your mom's in the convenience store picking up cigarettes, I'm going to try to get a quarter and play that machine for the 32 seconds that I have to be in there. Time Out in the mall was a fantastic arcade and wonderful memories of being in there. You know, I remember jamming away, I guess I was a little older, but jamming away at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 4-player cabinet. Loved that. I'm dying here. I might have to go to the hospital with this one. Wow, what a weird feeling. You know, playing the Turtles arcade game, Double Dragon, of course, I've mentioned Map Mania. Time Out was pretty great, and the bowling alleys. You know, I was a bowler, so I was always at the bowling alleys, and the bowling alleys always had arcade games as well. So yeah, those are my memories. All right, that's it for Retro Overload. That's great. That's a whole bunch of questions, and that's the Power Hour, folks. We will see you next time. The email links are down below if you want to be a part of the show. Get your questions, and there's still some leftover questions. Plenty of leftover questions that we'll get to. I'm going to try to print them out a little bit better so I can see all of your words and not just, you know, cut them off. So yeah, that's it. That's Power Hour, folks. Thanks for watching. Good night now. I can't get up. I really can't. This is awful.